Just begin with the introduction of MWSC, and we can move forward from there. Muslim Women Study Circle is a group which is formed by and maintained by the Muslim women of Indian origin, and we function in the online space, and our motto is Kunu Qawamina bil Qist, be persistently standing firm in justice. This has been taken from one of the ayats of Quran, Surah Nisa, which is the fourth chapter of the Quran. Uski ye ayat hai which encourages us to be just, and also not only just in our own practices, but to stand with justice and fight for it. Our method is sacred activism, and we, like we said, we are Muslim women. We have formed this group and we are running it. Our purpose is to fight Islamophobia and meet regularly to assert our identities, to discuss about our issues, to see what we can do to address the issues that Muslim women have and are facing. We are people who are from various social and educational background. We get together and bring our own ideologies and vantage points and discuss, and we try to be as respectful and provide a safe space for engagement for all the people who come. I would request people to please mute. And we function in the form of gatherings on Sunday mostly, which we call as halaqa. And the usual format of our discussions or sessions is such that we have weekly circles wherein we do alternatively Dini halqa and social sciences halqa, just for a better understanding of our method. And under that, we discuss several topics and issues. We also have a book club, and each month we take up a new book, and by the end of that month, we get together and discuss the book, do a review of that book. We have a Muslim Women Masjid project, which was started with the need that the Muslim women do not have enough spaces in the masjids in India. So this is something that we are doing across India, where we are trying to prepare a catalog of all the masjids that have women's section or which are women friendly. And we are also asking for spaces for women's section in the masjids that don't have it. The next is Muslim Women Research Network, under which we are meeting today. This is our team. We have 2 mentors, senior people in the field. They guide us. For today's discussion, बस ये एक request है सबसे कि अपने mics को mute पे रखिए. आज के session में हमारे 2 speakers हैं, मैं उनका introduction करवाऊंगी अभी, लेकिन आप लोग अपने mics को mute पर रखिए, और कोई भी क्वेश्चंस हो या कमेंट्स हो तो वो चैट बॉक्स पे डाल सकते हैं आप लोग, और जब डिस्कशन के लिए स्पेस ओपन होगा तो जरूर डिस्कस करिए. बट सेशन के दौरान माइक अगर म्यूट पर होगा तो इट विल बी बेटर फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ द इजी कम्युनिकेशन. हमारे जो टॉपिक्स हम कवर करते हैं वो इंडियन मुस्लिम्स पर है मेजरली. फिर मुस्लिम वुमेन स्टडी सर्कल रिसर्च नेटवर्क, जिसके तहत आज का सेशन है, उसमें और पहले काफी सारे सेशंस हमने किए हैं, which has been around applying abroad, किस तरीके से एप्लीकेशन भरना चाहिए, कहाँ अप्लाई करना चाहिए, the whole procedure. फिर कौन सी scholarships हैं जो अवेलेबल हैं, especially UK में. फिर we have had a session on how to publish in academic journals for someone who's just beginning their career in publishing, and I mean, as a writer, as a researcher. And we have also looked at educational opportunities and scholarships for Muslims. फिर application, PhD का application US में किस तरह से किया जाए, क्या procedure हो, और creative writing के around हमने workshop किया है. We've had discussion on labor market, marginalization, we had a session on selecting a research topic. So some of our speakers are people who are well established in the field. Today, we have our session on Fulbright-Nehru Doctoral Research Fellowships. And for this, we have two speakers with us. So first of, yeah. Our first speaker will be Sana Jindani, and she has done her MSc. She's currently doing her PhD at CSIR and CSMCRI Bhavnagar, which is in collaboration with RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia. And her interest areas are physical organic chemistry, computational chemistry, density functional theory, and her achievements, one of being what she will discuss with us today, Fulbright-Nehru Doctoral Research Fellowship. And she has also, okay, that's a lot, Sana. First of all, congratulations to you for that. She has achieved All India rank 54 in CSIR NET, and in GATE she has, which was in 2019, her All India rank is 391, and GSET, she has cleared GSET, and she has published 9 research articles in peer-reviewed, reputed journals. We're really glad to have you with us, Sana, and if I have missed on anything, you please add. Over to you.
For the sake of better internet, will that be fine?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sana Jindani, and I and Fathima will talk about Fulbright fellowships, how you can apply for it, what is the procedure, and the things that might help you with the application procedure. So Fulbright fellowship allows you to conduct a part of your PhD PhD project in the USA for 6 to 9 months, and the sponsors for these fellowships are USIES and IIE. So the main question is why you should apply for this Fulbright fellowship program. So Fulbright fellowship can give you an access to US research facilities and allow you to exchange your research experience with the international community. Apart from that, the main thing that Fulbright fellowship sets like it becomes very important because it allows us to become a Indian ambassador in a foreign land. So it is a really prestige for us to represent India in the United States of America. Apart from that, after coming back to India, we will utilize our experiences to the welfare of our Indian community. So this is the thing, that this is why we should apply for the Fulbright fellowship program. Now we see. Now we have discussed why we should apply for the Fulbright fellowship program. Now we will see what are the perks of Fulbright fellowship. So first is they will provide J1 visa support. So many of you are thinking कि अरे US का visa मिलना तो अभी बहुत difficult है, 300 दिन लग जाते हैं, 500 दिन लग जाते हैं. It is not for J1 visa. You will get J1 visa on time. So don't worry about the visa process. Second is monthly stipend. USIEF has not mentioned the stipend amount on their website, but I can say that the monthly stipend will be sufficient for you to live peacefully in the United States, and you can roam around the city with the stipend amount. So for example, if you are living in a city or state which has living expenses less, then the monthly stipend will be according to that. But for example, if you are living in Berkeley or New York State, then the stipend amount will increase because the living expenses are more in that cities. So it will vary city to city, but I'm sure that the stipend will be enough for a peaceful stay. Apart from that, Fulbright provides ASPE, which is like a mediclaim while you are on grant, round trip economy airfare, and other allowances like book allowances, then the allowances for your, your conferences, and one-time allowance when you reach there. So there are many other allowances that you will get while you will be on your grant. Also, Fulbright allows you to take your dependents, but I don't think there are allowances for dependents, but they allow you to take your dependents. So these are the perks of being a Fulbright fellow, and these are the facilities they provide to you. Now, before applying for the Fulbright fellowship, I suggest you to go through this primitive criteria that you fulfill before applying for the fellowship. So first and foremost is you have to be a registered PhD student in an Indian institute on or before 1st of November 2022. Second and most important point is your proposal. The Fulbright proposal should be a part of your PhD thesis. So if you're thinking that my PhD thesis is it's on XYZ topic, but I want to work on the other topic, so that would be very difficult for Fulbright to select your application. So your project proposal and your PhD thesis should overlap with each other. The third point is very important for those who are in their last year of their PhD. So for them, I would like to mention that the earliest grant start date would be August 2024. So if you are applying this year in 2023, and if you are in your last year of your PhD, then you should keep in mind that if you are applying today in 23, you would start your grant date at the earliest from August 2024 for 6 to 9 months. So if you are going for 6 months, then you would not be able to submit your thesis before 30th of April 2025. So you should keep in mind and be ready for it. This is just for those who are in their last year of their PhD. The second last point is one of the recommendation letter must be from their PhD supervisor. That means whenever you are applying for this fellowship, you must take permission from your supervisor as well as from your parent institute. Like if I am a CSIR fellow, I should take permission from the institute via requesting them to provide me a no objection certificate. And the last point is USIEF strongly recommend all the participants to identify the host institute, but that doesn't mean it is necessary. So there are few Fulbrighters who were not who couldn't identify the host institution, but they were selected for this Fulbright fellowship. So it's not necessary, but it is recommended. Now, this is the timeline that worked for me, and I would like to share this timeline with you. So the first milestone is to register for the website. Now, why I have emphasized very much on registering to the website, because when you register to the website, your email address will be there with the USIEF staff. So whenever they are uploading a new video or a new documentation, you will get notified. So these documentation or these videos will help you throughout your procedure. And this is the reason why I suggest you to register to the website well in advance. The second milestone is to collect all the documents. So like if you have transcripts, so I would suggest that you scan all your transcripts and your certificates. Like if you have internship certificate, or if you have educational research experience, or if you have teaching experience, all the certificates should be there with you. And I would suggest that you have scanned copies of them. So I would suggest don't use mobile phones for clicking those pictures. You spend some money that it will stay for you for the lifetime. So just do scanned copies that are very clear and visible. The second point on second milestone is to prepare your resume. So why resume is very important at this stage is because whenever you are applying to your potential host supervisor, you will need to give them your CV so that they can see whether you are a suitable candidate or not. So for applying, so for contacting your host, so potential host supervisor, there must be few things you should know. So it should not be like you are writing one draft, mail draft, and then you are sending it to 10 to 15 supervisor. It should not be like that. So what worked for me while finding the host supervisor was I searched I searched on the website about the host supervisor, potential host supervisor. I read his work. You can read his or her work, and then you summarize what exactly his or her expertise are, and then you draft a mail where you mention who you are, where are you coming from, and what fellowship you are planning to apply. This should be your first paragraph. The second paragraph should showcase that you know exactly what host supervisor, your potential host supervisor, is doing. So you mention that what you mention his work and show interest in their work, that you are very interested what he or she is doing. And the third paragraph should justify how your PhD project is overlapping with his expertise. And finally you attach your CV and then you send. So for every potential host supervisor, you should read his or her work well in advance. You make a summary and then accordingly you draft your mail. That would help very much and you will get a response from them. Otherwise, if you are saying that, if you are doing like you will write one draft and will send to 10 to 15 people, it will not work like that. And the last point on the second milestone is to contact two other referees. So as I have said that one of the three referees should be your Indian supervisor. So he will write recommendation letter for you. But for other two referees, I would suggest that you should not have all the three referees from one institute. Fulbright really like diversity. So if you have three different institutes, that is well and good. But even if you have three references from two different institutes, that will work. So for references, if you are like involved in extracurricular activities like music, dance, or sports, or any other extracurricular activity in which you are really involved, my suggestion would be to have one recommendation letter from that area. Fulbright would be very happy to accept those kind of recommendation letters. Apart from that, whenever you are approaching a professor for their recommendation letter, you should have three things in mind that you need to tell them. First is what are your achievements and what exactly your research area is. You should mention these things. And the third is you should mention that what exactly Fulbright is expecting from their applicants. You should mention these three things, and then you have to attach your CV, and then you provide them sufficient time to write their draft for you for the Fulbright application. So this is how you can approach your referees. And you mentioned that what kind of how Fulbright is expecting their applicants to be, so they will write accordingly. And give them sufficient time. You don't make them hurry. Otherwise, the referees would they might not like it, or maybe the deadline would go. So you contact them well in advance. The third milestone is writing project proposal, personal statement, and writing sample. So this is the most time consuming, the most energy consuming, and very important phase of your application. So writing sample, if I talk about writing sample, if you have your MSc dissertation, or if you have a published research article, that would fulfill the criteria for the writing sample. If you have published research paper, well and good. You do not need to think anything about writing sample. But if you do not have published research article, your MSc dissertation thesis would work. So you can put that as a writing sample. About project proposal and personal statement, Fatima will talk in detail about it. I will just give a brief introduction to these two essays. And the next milestone is filling the application form. So Fulbright application form is not like you will upload you will upload and then you will put you will press submit button. It's not like that. Fulbright application itself is an exhaustive task. They will ask you to write comprehensive answers to their questions. So it will definitely take 3 to 4 hours of your time while drafting answers. So it's important milestone that you need to keep in mind so that you do not hustle in the last moment. The last milestone is interview. Once your application is selected, you will be almost 50%. You have almost reached 50% of selecting to the Fulbright fellowship. Now we will talk about interview in the later in this slide. And congratulations, you are a Fulbright fellow now. After interview, there are many other few formalities, but that would be just formalities. You can get through them very easily. So these are few things that you need to have before start the application, Fulbright application. First is your CV. That should not be more than 4 pages. The scanned copy of your transcripts and certificates. As I suggest that if you have industrial or teaching or research experience, collect those certificates well in advance. Then you have to write study or research objective, personal statement. Writing sample could be your MSc dissertation or your published article. That would suffice. The letter of invitation from host supervisor. So in the letter of invitation, there should be 3 things you ask them to mention. First is a brief introduction of their expertise. Second is what kind of research research you are going to carry. So if you are not right, if they are not writing very briefly, you just request them to put the title of your research objective in the letter of invitation and the grant dates, like from which date to which date you would like to visit USA. So these 3 things should be there in your letter of invitation to showcase that you and your host supervisor are serious about this fellowship. Then PhD registration certificate should have your PhD thesis title and your PhD start date. These 2 things should be mentioned in your PhD registration certificate. It could vary from institute to institute. The copy of your passport. If you have passport, then you can submit. If you do not have passport, it is not mandatory. So, and don't worry about passport. So first you focus on applying for the fellowship. Once you have submitted the application form on or before 15th of July, you apply for passport and you will get within 10 to 15 days. It's not a big deal. Fulbright's applicant annexure form is easy to fill. You will be easily that is very easy task. And the last is employees and endorsement form. So if you are if you are government fellow, if you are government servant, then this employer's endorsement form will be needed. In a public or private sector, if you are employed, then this thing will be needed. If you are a full-time PhD research student, this thing is not applicable to you. So the white things, they are very easy to grab, or they are very easy to collect. Letter of invitation depends. If you find your host supervisor easily, then this would be very easy for you to find the letter of invitation. Also, Fulbright is very flexible about letter of invitation. If you have no letter of invitation, then also it's fine. If you have 6 letter of invitation, that is also fine. They will allow you to select of institution of your choice. So that's completely fine. About writing sample, if you have a published article, you need not to worry about writing sample, but everyone should worry about these 3 things. First is your CV, your research objective, and your personal statement. So we will talk about all of them one by one. I will start with CV. So this order worked for me. So I would suggest you to, you can have this kind of sections in your CV. First is your educational qualification. So you can start with your graduation, your 10th or 12th mark sheets or your grades. They are not that important. If you would like, you can, eliminate those and you can start with your graduation. If you have done master's, dissertation or internship, I would suggest to write it in one section, and in the subsection I would suggest you to, write a brief 2 to 3 line brief about what was your role and what exactly you did during the internship or dissertation. You should write those things either in bullet points or in 2 to 3 lines, but you mention what exactly you did and what exactly your role was. The same goes with your teaching, research and industrial experience. If you have any such experience, you write about it, the timings, what was your role, and what work you did. You have to mention those things in bullet points or in just 2 to 3 lines, a brief about those roles. Then research skills and interests. So for science students, I can give examples of what kind of research skills you can, write in this section. So first is like what kind of sensitive chemicals you have handled, or maybe what kind of instrumentation you have handled, or is there any internship or desertee student that has worked under your guidance. You can write about it, or many other things related to your research, like you have done your masters, you are doing PhD for 2 to 3 years. You can, you must have many research skills. You can write it in this section. Then comes the award section. Here you can write about your net, set, gate examination, or if you have your travel grant approved, so you can write about that. If you have summer internship and you have been awarded with anything, you can write regarding that. If you have industrial experience and if you have awarded with the best employee or something like that, any award, like if you are doing PhD and you get best researcher award, you can write about it. Or if you have any research grant or any travel grant abroad, you can write about it. So all that awards will come under this section. About additional skills, like for example, for me the additional skills were like, I know coding, so that was my additional skills. I know of some softwares that helped me, carry out my research, so I talked about that, handling that softwares. Apart from that, if you have helped your supervisor to in any other thing that might consider in skills, you can write about it. After that, you write about conferences and workshop. If you feel that you have exhausted the 4-page criteria, you can eliminate this part, but I would suggest to keep everything in that 4-page criteria. So you can talk about conferences and workshop. You can talk about your research publications. So publication should be like your first author publication should be on the top, and then your other author articles in descending order, yeah, year wise descending order, and then references. So here is a catch. When you are talking about your references in your CV, these references should match with the recommendation letter, should match with the people who are giving you recommendation letter. So if your first will be your supervisor and there will be 2 other people who will give you recommendation letter, so they should be there in these references. So Fulbright is about connecting the dots. If you are writing something in your CV, it should connect with your research objective, it should connect with your personal statement, and it should connect with brief answers which you will write during the application process. So these are the things that you can add in your CV or resume, and it should not be more than 4 pages. Now let's talk about research objective. So it should limit to maximum 2 pages, but if you feel that you cannot accommodate everything within the 2 pages, your references could be on the 3rd page, but I would suggest to have all the crisp of your research objective within those 2 pages. Maybe sometimes what happens is Fulbright take printout of your research objective and then give it to reviewers. So in that case, if they are printing only 2 pages, many things might be missing if you add third page. So I would suggest the crisp of your research objective should be within those 2 pages. You have to upload it in a PDF format. You cannot mention which specific US university you are going. So if you're doing such things, you might face elimination of your application. Your research objective should be a part of your ongoing PhD research. As I have said, that your research objective should overlap with your project proposal, PhD project. So this is one of the criterias. Apart from that, for research objective, you should clearly and in detail, you have to describe everything about your study. For example, what kind of research you would like to carry, how would you like to carry the research, and one important thing is that you have to set timelines, like you will do this particular research in within 6 to 9 months duration. So your research objective should not be very small, that could be completed in 2 to 3 months, or it should not be like very exhaustive that can take up to 2 years. It should be such that it can be completed within 6 to 9 months. You can add timelines. Apart from that, you have to be very specific. This exactly this is the exact problem that I want to solve, and this is how with this much techniques I would be able to solve them. So this you have to mention in your research objective. And the last and most important part is why you want to do this particular research in this particular this particular research in one of the US universities. Why US and why this particular research? You have to answer these 2 questions in your research objective. So this was about research objective. About personal statement, 2 pages would be more than enough to describe about yourself. And personal statement should be like a story. It should be like a narrative statement where you will tell story that would revolve around your CV. But it should not be like in this year I have done this, in this year I have achieved this, in this year I have done this. It should not be mere listing of facts. You should make a story out of your life, and that is your personal statement. So for many people, it works like you start with your childhood till you reach to a stage where you are applying to this fellowship, or you can start with your graduation and your life journey till you apply to this fellowship. Or else there could be some one particular significant factor that shaped your personal or professional life. So that particular incident you can write in your personal statement. That is also valid. So you can describe many significant factors that help you grow personally and professionally. Or else you can write about your achievements, like how you have achieved those goals, how you feel about those goals, like what struggles you faced, and everything you can mention in your personal statement. And also you should not mention about your US universities, and it should be uploaded in a PDF format. So this will revolve around your CV, but it should be you should not go too personal. It should be not too professional, too personal. But you can share your ideas, and you can share your views that is around your that revolve around your CV. So this was about personal statement. Now these are the screenshots of the Fulbright application part, where they have asked few questions that you need to write with descriptive answers. You can take a screenshot of this page, or I will share the PPT with you. So that's the thing, you have to write answers to this. Now my main suggestion over here is you should, write answer in such a way that you have already answered these questions in your either CV or your research objective or in personal statement. So you have to connect the dots. Like ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि तुम पहले पर्सनल स्टेटमेंट में कुछ और ही लिख रहे हो, तुम्हारा लाइफ अकॉर्डिंग टू योर सीवी तुम्हारा लाइफ कुछ और ही है, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. इट शुड कनेक्ट डॉट्स कि रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव जो है तुम्हारा वो तुम्हारे सीवी से मैच होना चाहिए, कि तुमने जो जो अचीवमेंट्स किया है उसके रिगार्डिंग तुम्हारा रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव होना चाहिए. तुम पर्सनल स्टेटमेंट लिख रहे हो तो तुम्हारे अचीवमेंट्स के बारे में जो तुम्हारी फीलिंग्स है वो अचीवमेंट तुम्हारे सीवी में रिफ्लेक्ट होने चाहिए. और जो तुम्हारा यहाँ पे जो ब्रीफ आंसर्स देने हैं, जो तुमको फुलब्राइट एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म भरोगे उस टाइम पे जो तुम आंसर्स लिखोगे वो आंसर्स जो है वो रिफ्लेक्ट होने चाहिए तुम्हारे सीवी, पर्सनल स्टेटमेंट और तुम्हारे रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव में. And the last thing that is very interesting is this question that we had during our Fulbright application in FNDR annexure form, but I think they have removed this question from the annexure. But I would recommend I would emphasize that you should answer this particular question in your personal statement. It will really stand out your personal statement out of all the other participants. And the question asks, during your Fulbright-Nehru grant, do you anticipate becoming involved in any way with your host society beyond the scope of your immediate academic objectives? So if you can answer this question in your personal statement, I think that would be really beneficial for your application. So these are my personal suggestions. First is do not self-reject yourself. You try to apply. If you are planning to apply for this fellowship, you please apply for this fellowship. You do not think like मैं इस चीज के लिए लायक हूँ या नहीं हूँ. Don't think like that. Fulbright fellowship एप्लीकेशन itself is a journey. वो तुमको इतना ज्यादा क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे कि तुमको तुम्हारे बारे में, तुम्हारे रिसर्च के बारे में तुमको और ज्यादा पता चलता जाएगा. तुम अपने ही बारे में नई नई चीजें, अपने ही रिसर्च के बारे में नई नई चीजों को डिस्कवर करोगे जब तुम उनके क्वेश्चन का आंसर देने जाओगे. सो डोंट सेल्फ रिजेक्ट योरसेल्फ. यू विल डिस्कवर योरसेल्फ व्हाइल applying for this fellowship. The second suggestion is one person's normal is another person's strange. For example, आप कुकिंग करते हैं तो लगता होगा अरे सब तो कुकिंग करते हैं, उसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है. तो वो बड़ी बात है. आप कुकिंग करते हैं, सब करते हैं, कोई बात नहीं. वो आपके आसपास के लोग करते होंगे. दुनिया बहुत बड़ी है. तो उस टाइम पे आप अगर अपनी जो स्किल्स है जिसको आपने बहुत ज्यादा नॉर्मल समझ लिया है, बहुत ज्यादा अंडर एस्टिमेट कर लिया है, तो ऐसा बिल्कुल मत करिए. आप उसको एम्फेसाइज करिए, उसको बहुत ज्यादा फोकस करके लिखिए उस चीज को. जो भी आपके पास स्किल है, छोटी है बड़ी है, हर छोटी अचीवमेंट है उसको सेलिब्रेट करिए. आप एक बार सेलिब्रेट करेंगे तो उसको एक्नॉलेज करना सीखेंगे, और वो एक्नॉलेजमेंट करने के बाद आप उस चीज को अपने फुलब्राइट के एप्लीकेशन में बता पाएंगे कि दिस मच स्किल्स आई हैव. तो अंडर एस्टिमेट और नॉर्मलाइज करना बिल्कुल मत रखिएगा. The third and main important thing is if you are starting to write drafts, so first draft can be like you feel like अरे एक तो एकदम ट्रैश है, मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है, ऐसा बहुत फील हो सकता है जब तुम फर्स्ट ड्राफ्ट लिख रहे हो. और it could be like 4 to 5 pages long draft, but that is completely fine. You have to make cream out of those milk. You have to take out cream out of those the milk. So what you're going to do is you will revise your draft again and again and again and again many times till you feel that this is a perfect draft for me. Once you feel that मैंने एकदम perfect draft बना दिया है, now what you need to do is you keep aside your essays and freshen up your mind for 2 to 3 days and don't think about your essays. And meanwhile, what you can do is you can seek advice and feedback from people you trust, like your friends, your relatives, or other Fulbrighters. You can ask for help, can you proofread my draft or something like that. You can do this. And after 2 to 3 days of relaxing your mind and keeping away those drafts from you, you can reread it. And if you are convinced at this point, if you can convince your draft to yourself then committee too will get convinced. तो एक बार तुम्हारा ड्राफ्ट ऐसा बन गया कि तुम खुद कन्विंस्ड हो चुके हो कि मैंने तो बहुत सही लिखा है और इस चीज से बहुत फायदा होने वाला है, लोगों का भी, सबका भला होने वाला है, अगर ये चीज आप प्रूव कर सकते हो अपने आप को, तो कमिटी अपने आप इस चीज को एक्सेप्ट करेगी. Other suggestions is register soon, talk to your referees in advance, and the thing is you can try to connect other Fulbrighters. तो जैसे मैंने बताया कि अगर आपके पास कोई ड्राफ्ट है और आप उसको प्रूफ रीड कराना चाहते हो या एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस भरते टाइम पे अगर आपको कोई डाउट है तो यू कैन आस्क टू देम. बट ऐसे नहीं, ऐसे ऐसे ऐसा करना सही नहीं होगा कि आप ऐसे ही जाके बोले अरे मुझे पता नहीं रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव में क्या लिखना है, आप प्लीज हेल्प कर दो मेरा लिखने में. इट शुड नॉट बी लाइक दैट. You have to put your 80% of your efforts and then you seek advice. That would be the best thing you can do. The second last thing is the crying baby gets the milk. इसका मतलब ऐसा है कि आप अगर किसी से एडवाइस सीख करोगे तो आपको एडवाइस मिलेगी. अगर आप शाई हो गए, if you are very shy in asking for advice or help, and people will not understand what exactly you need and they will not help. So if you need some advice or if you need some feedback or if you need some help, just go and ask. You will get whatever you are asking. And the last thing is don't assume while filling the application form. You can ask Pratibha ma'am, she will always be happy to help. So these are my personal suggestions. Now let's talk about my interview experience. Before going to my interview experience, I would suggest to write 5 questions that I have. I think they are very important while filling the application form and while sitting in front of the committee for the interview. These 5 questions, I think if you can answer these 5 questions, I think your application would stand out from other applicants. And that is, so the first question is why you want to go to the US. If you can answer this question. Second is why you want to pursue this particular research. If you can answer this. Third, what will you give back to India after your Fulbright experience? This is the third question you have to answer. Fourth question is how will you be an Indian cultural ambassador in the United States? And the fifth question is what will be your contribution to the host society. So these are 5 questions. If you can answer these 5 questions, I think you would get through the interview and you would get through your application part. So 5 questions: why US, why this particular research, what will you give back to India, how will you be an Indian cultural ambassador, and how will you contribute to the host society. So these 5 questions, and while sitting in front of the committee for interview, you have to be very confident with a smile on your face, and you have to be very thorough with your research objective, personal statement, answers in your application part and your CV. So अगर रात में नींद में से उठ के तुमको बोले कि पर्सनल स्टेटमेंट में क्या लिखा था, तो यू शुड रिमेम्बर कि अरे मैंने तो ये लिखा था. इतना थरो होना है जब इंटरव्यू के लिए बैठोगे. Now I will share my interview experience. So for me, it was like very technical. I'm from a computational chemistry background. So they asked me like, what is density functional theory? So it could be very, very technical. And then they asked me about, they went very personal. They asked me about what kind of struggles you faced during your, since your childhood. So they could be very personal. They could be very technical. And sometimes they try to manipulate you. So for if I give example, they ask me कि तुमने तो research objective में ऐसा लिखा है, तुम कैसे कर पाओगे उस चीज को. So I was very firm and very confident about my research objective. So I said I have never written like that, and I did not meant what you have said. What I have wrote in my research objective was this. I have never mentioned anything like whatever you have said. So they were very happy about this, that I am very confident about my research objective, personal statement. So they try to correlate they try to see how you can correlate your personal statement, your research objective, your CV, and your answers in your application. So you always have to connect the dots. You have to it seems like you have to say the same story over and again, but with different perspectives. your life in various perspectives you have to write in your application part. And hooray, you are a Fulbright fellow. So after you receive a mail that you have been selected as a principal candidate, you would think of your stipend, but don't worry about it. It would be more than sufficient for your living expenses. You have to undergo a TOEFL test, but you can always ask about TOEFL material to other Fulbrighters. They would be happy to share. And for our batch, the TOEFL score was more than 99 out of 120. But if you do not score well, the Fulbright has option for you for a pre-academic training. Apart from that, you will go and attend pre-academic orientation program. For me, it was really very overwhelming experience, and I had lifetime memory with that orientation program. And finally, you work as hard as you can and enjoy the life to the fullest. So this is Fulbright. So this is the picture of us attending pre-academic orientation program, pre-departure orientation program, and this is Pratibha ma'am. She would be happy to answer all of your queries. The girl in the white t-shirt is me. Here is Fatima, and we all are Fulbright fellows for the batch 2023-24. And for the next year, when Fulbright arranged their pre-departure orientation program, I want all of your faces in this picture for the next year. So all the very best for your application procedure. Last but not the least, apart from Fulbright fellowships, there are a few other fellowships like Raman Charpak Fellowship for France for 2 to 6 months, DART Fellowship for Germany for 6 to 12 months, Commonwealth Split Site Fellowship for United Kingdom for 12 months. You can go in 2 batches like 6 months. Newton Bhabha Fellowship for United Kingdom for 6 months. And there must be many other fellowships that I am not aware of, but you can always explore them while doing your PhD if you are interested in communicating or networking with the international community. Thank you very much. We will take questions after Fatima's talk. Will that be fine?
I think let's do that. That will be more helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sana, for being so lucid and also explaining in detail, as well putting your time up.
Thank you. I'm going to put off my camera for a minute. Okay. So I'm sure that in the 1 minute that I gave, you must have, I'm sure that certain images or certain compelling memories, incidents, and thoughts from your childhood, from your studenthood to your current phase of your life must have gleamed in your minds. So what I wish to say is that take that important bits of your memory, weave them together like a story, and use them to make a persuasive, compelling, and inspiring write-up. Remember that it's not a it shouldn't sound like a melodrama, but you should align these to your research agenda. So both the research objective and research statement should reflect upon your academic and personal journey. So I completely second with Sana that this is a journey to not only to apply towards a highly competitive and coveted fellowship, but this is also a process of understanding one's own self and one's own research. So if you're into a doctoral program, you might have at times realized that PhDing is a very daunting process. It can be alienating at times. So this application process for me, especially this part of the application, has been really useful to regain that sense of purpose that somewhere down the lane we lose. So this has been like a very rewarding or most rewarding aspect of the whole Fulbright application. So if you are able to think and reflect upon these key significant questions, reflect and write about it, then I think you are going to make a unique and compelling application. Okay. Coming to the nitty-gritties of writing a research objective. So try to limit yourself in 2 pages. You can exceed by a page if you have references to add on, but nothing beyond 3 pages. So it should be in academic style. Remember that it's not just subject experts who are going to review your application. There are non-academics who are reviewing your application. So try to avoid jargons. If you're using academic jargons, try to explain them in your research objective. And this is not a typical research proposal. So in a typical research proposal, you have sections and subheadings, but you do not have enough space to write so much. So what you could do is you can write them distinctively, but without giving a separate headers. You can also write it like an essay, but convey the most important aspects a typical research proposal would have. You can also use first person pronouns, especially if you're talking about your research motivations or rationale. Then you can also write in first person pronoun, like I am researching, I did this, I look for, I explore. So it's perfectly okay. Also, they are going through a number of applications, so it's always better for you to explain your research topic in the first line. Also, introduce your field site, or if you're researching a particular community, a particular area in the city, then mention them in the first paragraph. So this is your opportunity to grab their attention. So in the first paragraph, these are the aspects you need to mention. Always use in-text citations and references, but do not try to avoid too many in-text citations or too many references in your literature. So keep your literature review brief. Also, do not plagiarize at all. The Fulbright committee does not tolerate plagiarism, and do not use AI generated text. ChatGPT and such AI generated texts are very common these days, but do not use them, and they have mechanisms to detect plagiarism. Okay, so so there is no particular format to write a research objective, but generally these are the key aspects that must be covered in a research objective. So firstly, introduce your research topic. Tell them what you are researching about. If you're in a social sciences, tell them which community you're researching, what aspect of the community you're researching, the area you're researching. Eventually, you can also explain them. You don't have to explain in detail the conceptual framework, but definitely give an introduction to the conceptual or theoretical background of your research. So since I am researching in urban sociology, I talked about the certain key theoretical constructs that are used in understanding socio-political processes within the cities, also in the context of my research on local markets. So you could also use the opportunity to introduce literature. If there are, say, literature that are engaging with the theoretical frameworks you are using, so you want to contest them, you want to explain the gaps, you want to say that certain aspects of the city are understudied, and I would love to address those gaps. That is where you can very skillfully talk about the literature. So so it's not possible to entirely skip literature review, but you need to briefly mention the literature review. Two-page research, I know that it will be very challenging, but do not avoid the literature review, or do not exhaustively mention all the literature that's there in your area. So as you mention the gaps and lacuna, you can bring in literature. Further discuss the research objectives. I wrote it in a very essay format. It had 5 to 6 paragraphs. So each paragraph was connected with the other paragraphs. So there were no, make sure that they are not standalone paragraphs. So in the research question area, you can always mention the research objectives should not be bulleted. Instead, amalgamate it with your other paragraphs and tell it like write it descriptively. But you can always leave the research questions in bulleted format, or you can write it as a question, but not write more than 3 to 4 research objectives. But you can always mention sub-questions. Of course, you need to mention the rationale of your study, the reason, the particular motivation for your study. It can emerge from a particular it can also relate to you very personally or academically. You need to also mention the field in detail, the community that you're engaging with, the tools that you're using, methodology, the method. So do not assume that everybody reviewing your proposal is subject expert. So you need to mention the basics of the methodology used, including from the basics of whether this is a qualitative research or a qualitative research. The kind of methodology used, is it an ethnographic study, survey method, is it experimental method, quasi-experimental research, whatever it is, you need to mention who are your participants, how are you going to select the participants, what are your sampling criteria, mention all of them. I suggest you dedicate the field site and methodology aspect in a paragraph. Lastly, you need to mention your plan in the US. So you have to mention the area to which you are applying. Suppose you are a management studies student. The Fulbright the subjects under which you can apply, under the subjects, you will not find management studies. But if you're researching, say, public health, you can always come from another discipline and apply to another area. So do not let your examiners assume which area you're applying to. So explicitly mention that you're applying to this area, sociology or public health or any other field, for this particular category of fellowship. Say, I'm applying to sociology area in Fulbright-Nehru Doctoral Fellowship for the year. You need to mention the year. So this is one thing you should never mention. Never miss. So you need to clearly mention what are you proposing to do in the US. So you don't have to prepare a separate objectives for your fellowship period. It should always be aligned to your ongoing research. So you are giving 6 months, 6 to 9 months, and you need to do either you can either propose a field work, you can propose collaborative writing process, or you can use the entire period to write your thesis. It's up to you, but you need to give a compelling reason why you want to do that in the US. See, there are, instead of giving a general reason that you want to access particular libraries, particular archives or labs, you can tell them why particularly or you can tell them why, which aspect of the archive or which aspect of the library collection is not accessible in India, which is available in the US? Or are there certain equipments or lab facility that is not available in India, which is easily available in US, and how it's gonna benefit you? So instead of giving general reasons, try to explain, give them a persuasive reason. Apart from that, if you say wish to extend your study, tell them how you would like to do that and what would be the modalities. For example, in my research objective, I told them how I wish to bridge certain gaps in knowledge production, because the knowledges of cities are extremely hierarchical, and especially studies from the global south are treated as empirical sites. So I wanted to do some comparative work to exhibit that we are capable of making theories, and that global south cities are heterogeneous, and that there is a necessity to do work that is beyond Euro-American city centricity. So you can give a compelling reason for studying in the US. Personal statement. See, this must be aligned to your proposed research, but also exhibit who you are as a person. What are your motivations? What are your aspirations? And what you aspire to do in future. So this is a window through which somebody who doesn't know you is going to understand you. So I think that what they are trying to understand is, if they don't really need a person who is just academically focused, they're also looking for somebody who is sociable, who is committed to society, who can contribute to the community one is coming from. So in the personal statement, these are there is no particular format to write the personal statement, but these are some aspects you should not miss in your personal statement. Firstly, introduce yourself, tell them your current PhD position, introduce your research topic, tell them why you want to do this particular research and what motivated you. It can be the reason can be anything from personal to academic. The more you are rooted, the more you explain to them that your interest from the or interest in the research or motivation comes from a personal journey, it's going to make unique and compelling. You can talk about your personal journey and the challenges that you encountered. It can be financial, it can be social challenges from a particular community that is underrepresented in academia, or socially and politically underrepresented community that brings forth certain issues. How did you, or you have certain physical health issues and you had to brave them to get to the position you are at, that can be written. You need to also show them how you are skillful enough to do the proposed research. Suppose you have done a particular course in your master's or from your work experience, which enables you to use a certain methodology or tool that equips you to do proposed research. You can always mention that. Again, your background, professional experience. Again, this is not an exhaustive reiteration of your summary, but you can certain aspects from your CV to add on or to add nuances to the story you're trying to convey. Again, your achievements and significant learnings which enable you to do the particular research you're proposing. Say you have you don't have to list out all your publications, but if you have certain say fieldwork experience, or you have a particular publication that aligns with the ongoing research, then you can mention them. This is another important aspect of your application that they are definitely going to look out to. If you have taken up any leadership initiatives, have you contributed to the community in a small or big way? Say you can talk about if you have initiated any clubs, reading circles, study circles, if you have co-founded any mentoring platforms or anything like that, any community initiatives, you can mention that. And it's also important not to forget to mention your future plans. What do you aspire to do after your PhD? Do you want to get into academics? Do you want to do research, do work, whatever be it? Please mention that. Motivation for apply, definitely. The last 3 points: motivation to apply, the reason to study in US, and the potentials of your research. These are 3 things you should never miss. The motivation for applying to the Fulbright Fellowship, I told in when I was discussing about research objective, it can be a similar one from your research objective, but try to align it according to the proposed research. So say you want to, so you understand that there are certain gaps or lacunas in the way in the literature, you want to address them, and studying say conducting a particular proposed work in the US is going to fill those gaps. Those can be added. Say I told one of my reason was that US, like India, is a hotspot for migration and ethnic diversity, and extending my work on urban migrant urbanisms is one of my motivations. Other reasons for studying in the US, apart from academic, if there are any other say the non-social science students may have a number of students, like particular, you want to access a particular geography to do a particular research under a certain climatic conditions or lab facility, you can always mention that. Lastly, you need to explain to them the scope or the potential of your research and the study in the US, how it's going to largely contribute to your discipline and the community that you're researching. Okay, the Sana has already spoken about it, how to find a host university. You need to doing this really helped me. So this is one way of doing this. You can create an Excel sheet, then create columns of the potential supervisors, potential host university, their areas, list the reasons if they accepted it or rejected, if they have responded to you, give a comment section. So you need to at least say shortlist 15 universities and start emailing them. Make sure that you approach them well in advance, at least 2-3 months before your application begins is the right time to approach them. Always write a polite email greeting them, introducing who you are, what is your research. Before writing email, go to their official website, go through their profiles, check if their research expertise aligns with your research interest. Understand that there are mutual interests and there are consonants. In that case, explain what you find, what you resonate in work. My advice: do not send your CV and proposal in the first email. Try to have at least 2 communication. but you can always tell them in the first email that if they need it, you are ready to send your proposal and your CV to them. You can draft a common email, but make sure that you customize it according to the professors and their research expertise. Also, there's another way of approaching professors, especially this is common among the science community, that if your department or guide has an MOU with a particular university or a lab facility in the US, you can initiate a hostship through that method. It's perfectly okay, but then do not mention about the university or department you intend to go to in the application process. Okay, and another important advice, always follow up on the emails. It's very likely that in the first email they're not going to respond to you. You may have to send at least 15 to 20 emails and then follow up on them to get a response. Even if they respond to you or reject with a rejection, politely reply to them that you would you appreciate their response and you would like to meet them when you're in US, or you would like to pursue a relation with them in this on this work at a later stage. So it's very likely that you get rejections because most professors may respond to you saying they are on maternity leave or sabbatical, or they're no more interested in the or they are nearing nearing their retirement, and they're not taking the candidates anymore. So it's completely okay. It's natural to get rejections, but try to follow up, and it's very likely that on your second follow-up, people are going to respond to you. Some general do's and don'ts. As I said, don't share your CV and proposal to host university in the first email itself. Send them only if they ask. It's very likely that certain professors show excitement and enthusiasm to take you, but they ask you for proposal, they take it, and then they disappear or ghost you. So it's very likely. So you have the free will to make a call, take judgments, and cautiously send your proposals. Do not. It's always advisable to send your research statement and research objective to a trusted friend and obtain feedbacks from them. You can also approach Fulbright alumni. They are mostly welcome. They are always helpful. So if you're able to contact one or two Fulbright alumni to mentor you before you begin your application, it's gonna be helpful. Always proofread your application twice, thrice before sending. Again, no plagiarism. It's highly not tolerated. Inform referees in advance. You need three references. One should be your guides, and two can be either from an academic and non-academic background. So one of my references was from my ex-employer. So Sana said, it's good because there should be someone who is going to talk about your non-academic achievements and interests as well. So it's very likely that your academic guides will talk about your academic strengths and motivations. Also, it's good practice to inform your guide beforehand, before application, because at a later stage, you need to get guide's approval and letter of guide, even if you get the fellowship. So they are one person who has to give you reference, so not ghost your guide. and do not use the name of host university or department in any of your application. So even if you do not get references before the submission, it's okay. It's okay to submit your application without invitation letter. If you get your invitation letter at a later stage, you can always send it to the coordinator and they will upload it to your online application. Lastly, please give appropriate citations and references. If you have any doubts, please contact Sana or me on this email ID. I'm very happy to answer your queries. Thank you so much and all the best on this rewarding journey.
Thank you, Fatima. Jazakallah khair to both of you for speaking in such detail about the procedure and what needs to be done, and yeah, and about your experience of this application procedure. We will move to question and answers. Am I audible, Fatima?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, okay. Now my network has been not very stable, so I was just checking. All right, so we have some questions in the chat box, and both of you can take them, and it has not been sent with a specific name, so either of you can take up these questions. And if there is अगर आपने सवाल नहीं लिखे हैं chat box में, you can raise your hands and we will unmute you to speak also. That can be done too. So yeah, there are questions if you would like to take them, Fatima or Sana, whichever order you want to go. Shall I read the questions and then you can speak? Or so there's someone who's asking, wait. Their PhD ends in June 2024. And is there a point in registering now, or should they try for postdoc? Fatima, would you want to take this question?
Yes. Let me try to answer this. So if your PhD or fellowship expires in June 2024, you can, of course you can, but remember that from the time of your application to your selection and till the beginning of the grant date, it will take about a year. By then, you must have finished your PhD fellowship duration. So you may have to take another year of extension, because it is mandatory for you to submit your PhD only after 3 months of your return from US. It's very you will have to extend your fellowship period, PhD ship by a year. So it's your call. If it's you think it's beneficial for you, then you think if there are significant reasons why you want to go to US and it's contributing to your research, then you can definitely go for it. If not, you can always try the postdoc. Another caveat of the fellowship is that you have a home service rule, which means after your Fulbright fellowship, you need to serve in your home country for 2 years before applying for any other Fulbright fellowship.
Fatima, there is a catch over here. So we are going on a J1G visa, and if some university is providing J1P visa, they can go to US for postdoc.
Okay.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so this is government-sponsored J1 visa, and if you're going to the US university on postdoc, and you do not want to, cover these 2 months home residency, then you can go on J1P visa. So that would be university-funded project. That must be university-funded projects. It should not be government-funded projects. Then you can go on J1 visa again.
Okay. I saw that Ramandeep was raising her hand. If you would want to speak, Ramandeep. There are more questions in the chat box. I would, Fatima, if you can stop sharing the screen, and if possible, if both of you can keep your video on. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize.
No, that's okay. I'm just asking if both of you can be there. I mean, like, the visibility helps. Being in this online mode, it's difficult to know. There are no possibilities of finding out through the non-verbal communication anyway. So there are more questions in the chat box. So someone is asking if we should mention, or we cannot mention the name of the university, that any specific university in the application procedure.
So for application, they would ask 3 preferred universities or institutions of their choice. There you can mention, in application you can mention that in the 2 essays you cannot mention any new universities. Otherwise, in whole application you can mention. But in the essays you cannot mention, where they will send those essays for reviewing. There you cannot mention. Otherwise, the application itself will ask 3 of your preferred universities.
Okay. And someone is asking if their English is not proficient, will they have high chances of rejection in the procedure?
Let me answer that.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So see, as long as you are able to communicate your research objective, research statement, then you have all the chances for success and equal consideration. But remember that after you have the interview is also is conducted in English. So if you can prepare and appear, that's language is not a barrier. Secondly, after you're selected, you have to appear for TOEFL exam, and depending on the university, you need to obtain a particular score. Usually it is 98 and above for Ivy Leagues and other certain, even the Fulbright recommends above 98 score. But even though if you do not score, if you score below 90, below the recommended score, you are given another chance to improve your score. Besides that, you're given a pre-academic training before the beginning of your grant period. So you're given enough training in academic writing, grammar, so you can stand on equal foot. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. This question is directed to you, Fatima. They're asking, when your research is on a specific geography, how do you explain the question as to why US? Also, does the research you do there become a part of your thesis?
Yeah. Okay, see, you are always you are so your preliminary field site may be in a particular geography in India, but you can always communicate why you specifically want to do or extend that study in the US. Say there are you're doing a particular study of a community in a particular area, and you find resonance of a similar pattern in the US, and you wish to do a comparative study, or you are generating a theory about a particular phenomenon in the geographical area, and you want to test it in the site in US. You are free to do that. You can always propose that work. Secondly, you don't have to propose a different work altogether in the US, because you have time limit. You're going there only for 6 to 9 months. You're either going after your fieldwork or during your mostly during your thesis writing phase. So most of your time should be allocated towards writing your dissertation or writing your thesis. So this is something I want to say about geography. Anything else?
No, in that specific question that was there. Someone has asked if any English language proficiency test is required at any stage of application or after that.
So for that, TOEFL is required, but that is after you get selected as a principal or alternate candidate, you will be required to give TOEFL test.
Okay. Another question. At present, my coursework is going on. I will finish it in June or July. I haven't got a guide yet and my topic is not approved. Can I apply this time?
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. The person is saying they had their coursework is still on and it will get over in July. By July, they do not have a topic or a guide approved yet. So can they apply in this term for the fellowship?
Okay. I am not exactly sure if they can apply, but it's recommended, advisable to apply after your coursework, when you have a fair understanding of what you want to research. Also, because you need to take approval of your guide's letter reference. So it's always better to do it, say after your second year. Yeah.
Okay. And around the timeline, someone is saying that they registered for their PhD in January 2022. And what will be a right time for them to apply for the FP fellowship?
You want to answer, Sana?
Yeah, so you can apply for this fellowship if you have your guide, if you have your guide's permission, and you can always explore how the procedure is. Even if you are not getting this time, you can always apply the second time. So you can go for the fellowship. So the timeline is like you will the application part should not be later than November 2022. So on paper you can apply, even if you get rejection because you have not you are not skilled enough in your research. That may be a possibility. So you can apply next time, but you apply this time so that you get an idea how the application is, how you can respond to their questions, and it's a journey. You will learn. So you can apply, yes.
All right. A lot of people have thanked and appreciated both of you, and they have sent their best wishes as well. Okay.
Thank you. Thank
More
you so much.
questions. All right. I'm trying to filter out from the chat box. Also, someone is asking that if you're not in a premier institute, does that deter your application process?
No.
Okay.
It solely depends on how you answer to their questions on your CV and both of your essays.
Can unpublished work, which is not a MSc thesis, be submitted as a writing sample?
Yes. You can either, you can also give an unpublished work, say if it is a draft of your draft write-up, your assignments. But if it is a draft say a work under review for publication. You can do that. You can give that as well.
Okay. There's
But
a lot of
make sure it is sorry, but make sure
no,
that
go ahead.
make sure that the write-up you're submitting is aligned to your ongoing research.
Okay. I think both of you have spoken about already what is a ideal stage for application. There are several questions on that. Someone is worried about or is just asking if to what extent the grades in bachelor's and master's matter in the procedure of this application.
So can I go for this answer?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
please.
So for me, I did not have any, for me it was like first class. I was not even a distinction. So it doesn't depend on your scores of your 12th or your graduation. I was always an average student in college. So I think it doesn't depend, on your grades.
They are not going to judge you based on your grades. So only during the application, I think they're going to ask your PhD transcript. You can show that is also to understand the kind of courses you have done during your coursework. That's all. It's not to assess your grades. So it's totally based on your research proposal and statement you're giving. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's reassuring. Someone is asking if they can take IELTS instead of TOEFL, or are they both accepted?
I think for this program, TOEFL is accepted.
Okay.
Do not write TOEFL before the application because they are going to fund your TOEFL exams also. So also to apply to US universities, TOEFL is recommended.
But at this stage, you cannot, focus on TOEFL exam. At this stage, you should focus on applying for this fellowship. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. We will take 2 more questions and we will close. We're almost finishing the time. So there's one question. Yeah, asked it again. If you can read it in the chat box, it's the last one, which is saying that they are a ACSIR RMIT candidate, and is there any point in applying for this fellowship as they're also planning to move to Australia this year?
This is for you, Sana.
Yeah, so if you're going to RMIT this year, that is fine. If you're applying this year, only you would be able to go to the US on or after August 2024. So if you're planning to go to Does this justify your answer?
Sana, I think you were muted in between. Could you repeat that?
Oh, okay. So if you're planning to go to RMIT this year, you can go, because if you're planning to apply Fulbright Fellowship this year in 2023, you would be able to go to the US only on or after August 2024. So if you are going to RMIT can allow you to stay at on site for only 12 months, right? So you come back by August 2024 and then you can go to US. That's completely fine.
Okay. And if there is anything that you want to ask more, our speakers have been very generous by sharing their IDs and being open to responding to them. So you can do that. There is one question around someone who's saying that they are in masters, 1 year is still remaining. So do they need to first register for PhD here in India and then apply for the fellowship? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I think we will close the session for today because since it has been so informative and also lucid, people have so many questions to ask, and I see there are possibly a lot of aspirants as well. Thank you so much, Sana and Fatima, for taking out your time. And people have really benefited from what you have shared. And thank you to Sanya also for bringing both of you here. I mean, I don't need to thank Sanya, it's in house. It's but still I'm thanking because she always manages to work on finding people and bringing it for the sessions. All the best for your fellowships and the work you will do.
Thank you, Humaira, and thank you, Sanya.
Thank you so much.
Hope
Thank you
you
very
both,
much.
Thank
yeah.
you,
See
thank
you
you
guys
for
around
having
now.
us. All the best.
We
to
hope
the
you stay in
Muslim
touch so
Studies
that we
Circle.
can use more of your, experience and knowledge.
Thank
Sure,
you so
sure.
much.
Thank you very much.
Sure, definitely.
Jazakallah khair.
Some of you.